Mr. Andrew Holness.
Oops. Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. I'm going to stand on the protocols that have been established and go straight into my presentation. First, let me, but forgive me, I have the Deputy Speaker of the House of Parliament here. I mean, the Minister knows I acknowledge him, and the new Permanent Secretary and the Chairman and the Acting President and everyone else. But we have a real official here, the Deputy Speaker of the House. And I point that out because I have Parliament in another few minutes. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I know that the real Speaker has given me permission. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is the third time in a matter of months that I am here at the NWC at a handing over ceremony for equipment. This is a powerful signal of the new capital dispensation of the NWC. It is not that the NWC is making more profit or seeing greater revenues. The truth is that they have been seeing greater revenues, and they have even broke even after decades of making a loss. And this is as a result of certain strategic decisions taken in addition to improved management. One strategic management decision would be, for example, the implementation of the non-revenue water projects, which would have reduced significantly water losses on the balance sheet of the NWC and would have secured their revenues. But we have also taken other important decisions that would have put our balance sheet, the NWC's balance sheet, in much better positions rather. For example, in terms of loans we have taken and how those were financed. And all of that has made it possible for the NWC, first and foremost, not to come to the government for money to pay off loans on which they would have not performed well on. And we have not had that in a little while, which is good. It means that the NWC is no longer the fiscal risk to the government that it was. It is, yes, it's a major change. Ever so often, every 5 or every 10 years, the government of Jamaica would have to make a massive provision to relieve the balance sheet of the NWC of significant debt. Thankfully, we haven't had to do that in a while, certainly since my administration. However, we do understand that the NWC would not have all the capital required to undertake the infrastructure development that we require of the NWC. And so the government has from time to time stepped up to the plate and put in the capital investment along with the NWC. And what you're seeing here today is the government of Jamaica, through its budget, specifically now, through the Natural Disaster Relief Fund, make allocations for the relief and recovery exercise. And it is those allocations for which the NWC has had the confidence to go ahead and enter into an accelerated procurement process to acquire these units. Very important for the public to know that this was done under emergency procurement. And you see how we have shortened the time. Now, just to be clear, A few months ago, I was here handing over 8 units, which took almost a year under procurement, or probably a little bit more than a year. And then I had said at that time the NWC should go and procure more. So they procured another 8. Now those 8 are still in procurement. Still in procurement. These 12, however, given the devastation of Hurricane Melissa, and there are so many persons now who don't have water as a result of the disruption in the public utility supply, we have had to use the emergency procurement procedures. And I would say in a matter of weeks, 3 weeks, about 3 to 4 weeks, 3 weeks, thereabout, 2.5 weeks, Minister tells me, since we made a decision in Cabinet, made the allocation, and now I'm pleased to hand over these 12 trucks. Now, any reasonable thinking citizen must be thinking, why is it so long in procurement? And I'm sure that after this presentation today, the citizenry will start to question the very dense bureaucracy that we have, and while it is there, and necessarily so, to protect the value of the public purse and the value of what the public purse purchases for the benefit of the customer, we can't sacrifice that level of compliance. But there must be a way in which compliance can be accelerated so that the customer not only gets the monetary and accounting value, but also gets the value in service. Because can you imagine if we had to go through the regular procurement process, what would have happened to the people in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth and Hanover and parts of St. James and Trelawney, who will now benefit from having a greater supply of water? And that is the challenge that governments face, not just in Jamaica, all over. It's the same complaint that the modern bureaucracy is moving way too slow relative to the demands of the public and the citizens of democratic countries. And what is emerging now as a new school of thought is how can we use technology, specifically artificial intelligence, to accelerate some of these bureaucratic processes to give the confidence of scrutiny and compliance, but at the same time speed of service delivery. And this is something that we have already started to contemplate. We had announced a few months ago the formation of SPEED, which is our process to review the public bureaucracy with a view to enhancing speed in terms of how services are delivered. I want to also just use this opportunity to make the point that we're not only seeking to purchase water trucks. We have already started a process to purchase tipper trucks from the existing trade. I see Tankwell is here, and these trucks are from Tankwell. And I believe I can say that we have already reached out to Tankwell to purchase the tipper trucks that they have in stock here, because those trucks will be needed for another urgent intervention, which is the removal of hurricane debris, which is now creating its own separate problems, including potential health crises. And so we launched last week the National Cleanup Program. On Wednesday, they will actually begin doing the cleanup. That will require the mobilization of a fleet of trucks. I don't believe that we have enough trucks in Jamaica to have a concentrated effort on it. We will try to hire as many as possible, but the truth is we can't take the trucks from what they are currently doing. Many of those trucks are in construction and they're doing all kinds of other things. So we will bring as many private trucks in, but the NWC, the NSWMA, they need to have certain internal minimum capacity to respond. And therefore, the government has said we're going to build that minimum capacity, both in the NSWMA and in the NWC. So there is another process going on right now, similar to what has taken place in the NWC, to acquire trucks for the NSWMA to deal with the massive debris crisis that is affecting many of the areas that were devastated by the hurricane. So I want to therefore commend the NWC and its staff for ensuring that the process, the accelerated process, was done according to the law, that there will be no questions. Well, questions will be asked, but there would be none that is successfully questioning the process. And I'm also very happy to state that with these trucks, we will be able to deliver water to those persons who are in need. One final point for consideration, and the minister is best placed to address it, but he is very passionate about the subject I'm about to mention, and he's the one who gave me the information, and I hope I treat with it with justice. Now, I'm told that we have lost 51% of our primary forests as a result of the hurricane. For those of you who have had the opportunity to visit the devastated areas or have seen pictures on social media and on the news, you would see trees totally denuded, looking as if winter struck Jamaican forests. Now, that poses several problems. The first is the challenge to agriculture. You would have heard issues about, the bees having to find other homes, so pollination will become an issue. The other one is the potential for forest fires that itself could be devastating with us not having full capacity to respond. And then the third and most concerning is that in the areas that we have lost some of the forests, these would be our major natural underground water storage, particularly in the cockpit country. And one has to be very careful about how those hills are exposed and what it could do to the underground water systems. So the minister and I, we have been discussing that we will have to have a special program of response for that, and I know the forestry department has started to do their work. They will come to us with the necessary proposals as to how the government can respond to protect our forests and our forested areas. But that leads to another big problem: the possibility of more extreme droughts. Now, we've had some very serious droughts for the last 4 or 5 years, and we have had to be scurrying to respond, which is why we had decided to increase the internal capacity of the NWC to have these water trucks. These water trucks, therefore, will serve the initial and immediate need, which is to provide water to those persons affected by the hurricane. But we will maintain them because we know that we're going to have a potentially serious drought following on early next year when we enter the dry season. And so these trucks will come in handy, and indeed we may very well have to acquire more capacity. The intention, however, let me just assure those persons who are thinking that it is the intention of the NWC to have a massive fleet of water trucks. That's not the intention. The intention is to have the reserve capacity that we can respond quickly. But really, we need a fleet of about 100 or more water trucks, and that really should be a private sector endeavor. And therefore, the NWC will be working even closer with the private sector to make sure that there is this standing capacity within the country, managed both by government but mainly by the private sector, that would have the time, resources, effort, and management to manage a fleet of 100 trucks, while the NWC can focus on what it should be focusing on, providing water to your homes. So I just wanted to lay that out. So ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PM. And so, in the interest of time, we're going to just say a quick thank you to all the persons that have made this function possible. All the PM, the Minister, the PS, MP Clark, and Speaker of the House, Councillor Myers, who has come from near but far. All of you, including the Tankwell team, but I also want to salute the NWC team again, PM, the procurement persons who handled this quite efficiently. Of course, you, the stakeholders who are viewing online and those who are here, it has been a tremendous effort, and we come to make that effort for you, the citizens of Jamaica. I now want to invite the Prime Minister, Minister, the team from Tankwell, their representative, President Carr, and Dr. Francis, to join